Hello and welcome to a basic introduction of Excel. This is the first video of a little mini series of Excel help videos. Excel is actually a very powerful program. What it is it's an electronic spreadsheet that can be used for storing, organizing, and manipulating data. And we want to do that sometimes so that we can kind of have an idea of how we should plan for the future, see where we've made mistakes in the past, see if there's a common trend across a set of data, and so on. Now, when you open up an Excel file, the first thing you'll see is a screen that looks like this. What you'll notice is you have horizontal rows, and the rows are all labeled with numbers. Then we have what we call vertical columns, and these are labeled with letters of the alphabet. Now, when we exceed the letter Z, you can see that we go to AA, AB, and so on. And then each one of these tiny little rectangles within the rectangular table is actually where the data is being stored within the spreadsheet. And we actually can label or name these little individual cells by the column and the row in which they occur. So like this cell would be D3. If we go to the cell below, that will be cell D4. And again, you get that from right here and right here. If we go to the right, we are now looking at E4 and so on. Now I have gone in and input a set of data, and what you'll notice is each cell can hold either numbers, text, or formulas. And if we use formulas, formulas are really nice because it will do the calculations for you. And you can even link several sheets together. And what I mean by sheets is if you look at down here, we have all these little tabs. Now in this case, I have ACT data that I've inputted in here, and I have math data based on this, science, English, and writing. Now, instead of having to click on each tab to see what information is there, I'm going to go and right-click and go up to Rename, and I'm going to call this the Math tab. And I'm going to do this for each tab. So this is my Science tab. And again, I'm just right-clicking, going up to Rename, English, and Writing. And if I really wanted to get fancy, I could go through and I could change the tab color. I could do purple, I can do blue, it doesn't really matter. And at this point in time, it's not really that important either, but if you wanted to, you could. The other thing you want to do whenever you have data is you want to make it so that it looks nice. If you were to take this data and throw it into a presentation to give to your boss or to turn into your accountant or have to put into a lab report for like a chemistry class or a physics lab, whatever the case may be, you're going to want to make everything look neat. So to do that, I typically bold my titles, and you can either come up here. Well, first of all, you're going to highlight the cells you want, and you can either come up here and select bold, or I personally like the shortcuts Control B. Then I'm going to go and put my data, and I'm going to put boxes around it. And I'm going to do that by coming up here to the border, and I'm going to go down to all borders. And then I'm going to center align my titles and my actual data numbers. Now when I click out of there, you can see that my math score text is outside of the range of the border itself. So in order to adjust the width of that, I can either come up here and click on the line and drag it out, which you'll notice there's little numbers that will tell you the width, or you can just go ahead and double click and it will do like an auto fit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for each one of my tabs. So again, I'm going to use Control B, center align my data here, select it, put a border around it, auto fit. I'm going to do the same thing with my English. Put my border around it, auto fit, and then for the writing as well. And my border with an auto fit. And now that I have my data looking at least nice and in a table format, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do what we call sort. I want to see my data in order from the largest number to the smallest number. So in order to do that, I'm going to go and highlight the column in which for the data that I want to sort. And I'm going to come up here to the right hand corner and select Sort Filter, and I want to sort so that my largest number comes first and my smallest number comes last. So I'm going to select this, and I get this little box that pops up. Now you can either expand the selection or continue with the current selection. We're going to want to expand the selection. Now what this means is that if this number here ends up moving down, it's going to take the name of Martin with it. Likewise, if something like the name Easton and the data number of 23 moves up, then Easton and 23 are also going to be linked. So I'm going to hit Sort, and you can see that both Martin and Easton have a data number of 23, and they're now in numerical order. So again, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do this for each set of data. I want to expand the selections. Okay, and then the last thing we're going to look at here in the video is how to do some basic formulas. Sometimes we need to do a summation of all of the data. We need to do a mean, a median, or a middle number. And mean, remember, is an average. And maybe if I don't want to order my data from largest to smallest, I want to find the min number in a big set of data, or the max number. So what I'm going to do to start out with is I'm going to highlight all of these in yellow because these are my calculations. And then I want to use a different or a more bold border. So I'm going to right click where I've highlighted, and then I'm going to go up to Format Cells. And usually you're going to default to numbers, so you're going to want to come over to border. I'm going to want a thicker border, and I'm going to do both the outside and the inside of those cells. So now you can see that all my calculations are going to be highlighted in yellow. Now, in order to do this sum calculation, the first thing I have to do, and this is for any calculation, is I'm going to start out by hitting the equal sign. The equal sign tells Excel that you are going to put in a formula or an equation. And if I really wanted to, and I wanted to be time consuming, I could go and hit this cell and go plus, and then this cell and plus, and then this cell and plus. But if I have a lot of data points, I'm not going to take or want to take that much time. So I'm going to go ahead and hit equals and then start typing in the word sum. And what you'll see is I get this list of possible formulas. I'm going to put a parenthesis, and then it tells me kind of the general format that it needs in order to calculate that sum. So it says insert your first number point or first data point, which in this case is going to be 32. And then it says number 2, which is going to be my last data point. I'm going to close my parentheses, hit enter, and I see that I have a sum of 349. And you can verify that if you want with a calculator. Now mean, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go equals, and if I type in the word mean, you'll see that I don't get an option for a formula. What that tells me is it doesn't exist. So then I'm going to say, okay, well mean is really an average. So now once I start typing in average, you'll see that we get a formula for average, and again, it tells us to do the first and the last number in the series that we want to average. And I'm going to hit enter. And we end up with 23.26 repeated. Well, I don't really want a decimal number. So I'm going to come up here and you'll see that you have a dollar sign, a percentage. These are kind of quick little buttons that will format that cell. So if I cover over this one, I see that this will increase the amount of decimal points that I have, which I don't want. Or this one here will decrease. So I'm going to hit this one here until I hit a whole number, and then I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to do the same thing for median, so equals median. And remember, median is the middle number, so since I've already arranged my data, this would be an easy number to find. And I'm going to do the same thing for the min. And notice each time that formula is popping up, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the max. Okay, and I'm going to want to do this for each set of data under science, English, and writing. So instead of typing all that stuff in by hand, I'm going to highlight this, and you can either come up here and go copy, or you can go Control C, and then I'm going to go to the Science tab, and actually when we go back to the Math tab, you'll notice that it has this kind of dashed little line that goes around it that tells us that those are the active cells that are being copied. And we're going to come over here, and you can either do Control V, or if you right click, you'll see that you have different options for pasting. You can either paste the actual values, this is the values. You can paste the formulas. You can transpose your X and Y. You can change your formatting, or you can insert a link. So I'm just going to go here with the insert. And then if you want to double check to see what your formulas are, all I have to do is click in this box, and it tells me up here what my formula is, and it will tell me right here. Now if I click up here in the formula bar, you'll see that it highlights the text that was actually being used for part of the equation. So sometimes you need that just to kind of verify if something doesn't look right. And we're going to do the same thing for median. Click up here, and you'll see that everything is the same. So now I'm going to go Control C, go over to English, hit Control V, and notice my numbers are changing. The sum, of course, is not going to. Well, yes, I guess it will. These are different numbers. And then I'm going to paste that here as well. So at this point in time, this is going to conclude the first video, and I will see you back at the second video.